We have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. Remaining totally in a state of not knowing, you have tremendous energy. Hello and welcome to episode 244 of Urgency of Change. Each episode of the Krishnamurti podcast features carefully selected extracts from the archives. The aim is to represent different aspects of Krishnamurti's radical approach to many of the issues and questions we all face in our lives. This week's theme is not knowing. Upcoming themes are the self, concentration, and inquiry. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust, based at Brockwood Park in the UK, which is also home to the Krishnamurti Centre. The centre offers a variety of group retreats from February to December, including for young adults. The atmosphere is one of openness and friendliness, with a sense of freedom to inquire with others and alone. Please visit krishnamurticentre.org.uk for more information. You can also find our regular quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This helps our visibility. This week's episode on not knowing has 5 sections. This first extract is from the first talk in Saanen 1963 and is titled The State of Not Knowing.
What is the real function of thought? I really don't know. We're going to find out. What's the real function of thought? What would you say? Has thought any importance? If it has, what is its place? We are not offering our opinions about it. It's not what you think and I think or somebody else thinks. That has no value at all. We're going to find out the truth of the matter. To find out, you have to hesitate, you have to wait, you have to look, you have to listen, you have to, feel around. Not just repeat a reaction of a memory. Because you have read a book on philosophy of thinking or whatever it is, and you remember that and you quote it. We're not doing that. He has asked a very serious question. Because I have said, thought is conflict. I have said, thought is destructive. You just pass it by, but he picked it up and he said, what do you mean by that? Then what is the place of thought? The question is, what is the value of thought? What is the right place of thought? Do you know what thinking is? Wait a minute. Now, before we answer that gentleman's question, we must find out what he's thinking. Mustn't we? What is thinking? And then we can place it. And then we can give it right significance. But without understanding the whole process of thinking, just to answer a few words doesn't solve it. Right, sir? So, what is thinking? Please don't answer me. That's very simple. You'll say this and that and there are 10 different things. But what is thinking? Now, wait a minute. I ask you a question. And then, what takes place? A challenge, which is a question, and you respond to it. You understand? A question, and you respond. There is a time lag between the question and the answer. So, there is a challenge, which is a question, what is thinking, and the response. The response will take time. So there is a lag between the question and the answer. In that lag, your memory is in operation. You understand? In that gap, your memory says, you begin to say, Baijo, what does he mean by this? Where did I read that? What, and so on, so on, so on, so on, so on. Right? Just listen to it, listen to it. Then, if the question is very familiar, your response is immediate. Right? Because you don't have to think. If I say to you, what's your name? Immediate. But if I ask you something and you hesitate, you don't know, it takes time. During that time, you are searching. Your memory, you go into your memory and say, well, I'll find out. Right? So, thinking is the response of your memory. Just go slowly, please, go slow. It's very, very interesting if you go into it. The one with which you are familiar, your answer is instantaneous. The one with which you are not familiar, you need time. And during that time you are searching and you answer. That's second. Third is you look, you search, and you say, I don't know. Because your memory hasn't gathered information, and therefore you say, I don't know. Right? A is instantaneous. B, you take time to answer. C, you say, I don't know. But when you say, I don't know, you're waiting. You're waiting to be informed. You're waiting to look, go to the library, search, expecting an answer. So when you say, I don't know, it is a conditional I don't know. I will know in a few years or a few days' time, which is conditional. Right? Now, there is the D, which is say, I don't know. You understand? Which is not conditional, which is not waiting, which is not looking, which is not finding an answer, which says, I don't know. Now, all that is a process of thinking. isn't it? If you ask a Christian if there is a God, if there is a Savior, of course he'll say immediately. If you ask the communist if there is a God, he'll say, what the devil are you talking about? His God is the state, but that's a different matter. So, our response to any challenge is according to our conditioning. And so our thinking is according to our condition, according to our memory. If the memory is sharp, clear, active, vital, your responses are strong. And that's the whole process of thinking. Whether it is elaborate, whether it is scientific, whether it is astronomical, and so on, so on, so on, it is based on that. And there's the point when you say, I really don't know. There you're not waiting. No book can tell you. There is no memory that will say, this is it. Surely that is entirely different from the other processes. I don't know if you're following. Huh? Have you followed? At least made myself clear? A, B, and C are not the same as D. There, all thinking has stopped. Because you don't know. Now, from which point of view are asking the question? You follow? Are you asking for a reply A, B, and C? What is the right value of thinking? You follow? In that context, or are you asking, is there a state of mind when there is no thought as I don't know, right? And what relationship has thought to that, to D? I wonder if you are capturing, you are getting what am I explaining myself, or is it becoming too complex? Wait, please. Wait. You see, you are not following what I'm saying. You're going on with your questioning, with your answer. You see? If the challenge and the question is very familiar, your answer is immediate. If it requires little interval of time, you'll find the answer. And the third, you'll say, I don't know, I'm waiting. I look. Now, does the questioner say, what is the relationship, what is the right value in that context? You follow? It has value. When you go to the office, when you do something, it has value there. And it must have value there. I don't know if you're... But has it any value when you say, I don't know? Which is when the mind is in complete not knowing. It has gone through all the ABCD business, but it says, I don't know. Now wait a minute. If you are a Christian, and so on, if I ask you if there is a God, you will answer. There is, according to your condition. And your thinking has a value there, depending on your morality, how you behave, or the good, and all that. But a man who says, I don't know whether there is a God or no God, which doesn't mean he denies there is a God, or he doesn't know. Because he is not exercising his thought to discover, because you follow? Because if he uses his thought to discover it, it comes back to the other, to the known. You're getting it? Now, I must deny the three to find out. You understand? I must deny the whole structure of belief and be in a state of mind which says, I don't know. There is not exercising thought at all. And therefore his value, he gives no value to thought there. Thought has value in every other field. Right, sir? We've got it. You see, knowledge, which has been accumulated through thought, through experience, thought, which is the outcome of that knowledge, has importance in the field of knowledge. Right, sir? In the field of knowledge, you must have thought. But knowledge is not going, the known is not going to help you to find out the unknown. And the mind must be free of the known. And that's one of our difficulties.
The second extract is from Krishnamurti's fifth talk in Paris 1961 and is titled, Not Knowing is Complete Attention.
I'm asking, what is thinking? And what is your response to it? You can't answer, please don't answer me. Unless you know the mechanism of thinking, have gone into it very, very, very deeply, your response will be inadequate. Please follow this. Your response to the challenge will be inadequate and therefore conflict. And being in conflict, you try to get away from conflict. And getting away from conflict is the avoidance of the fact that you don't know. And the moment you realize I don't know, there is fear. I don't know if you're following all this. So what is thinking? Obviously, thinking is the reaction between challenge and response. Isn't it? I ask you something, and there's a time interval. before you reply. In that interval, thought is acting. There is the beginning. And it answers. It's fairly simple to explain this. But to actually experience the process of thinking, not merely responding to a challenge, but to go behind the response and investigate the response. That's what we are doing. Not how to respond, whether the response is adequate to the challenge. That is irrelevant. But to go into the question of how the brain responds to a challenge. What are the processes which manufactures the response and puts it into words to communicate? We understand so far? So what is thinking? Please watch your own response to my question. What is taking place? I ask you what is thinking, and you haven't answered. Don't answer me, please. And you haven't found the words. You say, by Jove, I don't know. I never looked at it that way. I don't know what thinking is. But actually what is taking place? There is the question and there is the response. There is the question and you are waiting for a response. There is the challenge and response eventually. The time interval, the interval between the question and response, in that lag of time, is the process of thinking. Is thinking. All right? That is, I ask a question which is familiar, with which you are familiar. Your response is instantaneous. What's your name? And you reply immediately. The immediacy is familiarity. You know it so well. The constant repetition. And there is no time interval. There is immediate response. If one asks something a little more serious, there is a time interval of 2 seconds, 10 seconds, during which the brain is set in motion and you are it's looking into memory to find out the answer. The looking into memory, finding the words and answering is the process is the time interval, which is thinking. Now if one asks a much more complex question, the time interval is greater, but this process is the same. Looking into memory and trying to find the right word and finding the right word and responding. Please follow this slowly. I don't know, it's very amusing and interesting to watch what takes place. Please, this is part of self-knowledge, self-knowing. And if one asks a much more complex question, of which you are not sure, then the time interval is greater. During that time interval, you are looking into the records of your memory. When you don't find it, you say, I don't know. But your not knowing is merely waiting to find an answer. You're following all this? So you are waiting. What's the distance between here and New York? You don't quite know. You're going to find out. You inquire, you ask somebody. All that is going to take time. And then you say, yes, that's the mileage or the kilometers. The familiar, immediate response. The not too familiar, taking time. Something which you are not sure of, which will take a lot more time. And that is, say, I don't know, I'll find out. Then there is other thing. You ask a question. And no record, no investigation, and you say, I don't know, which doesn't mean you're waiting. You don't know. You don't know actually if there is God or not. Though you like to believe, though you have been told, all the rest of it, and you brush all that as stupid nonsense out. When one asks, is there? You don't know. And nobody can tell you. In that interval, no, there is no interval in that. You follow? There is an absolute certainty that you don't know. Now, the state of not knowing completely is attention. Right? Isn't it? Every other form of knowing and not knowing is inattention. Please, may I little diverge here? What is learning? I think it is related to what we're talking about. If not, it doesn't matter. What is learning? Are you learning from the speaker? Surely, learning implies not knowing. But learning is not additive. You can't gather learning. The moment you have gathered, accumulated, you are merely adding knowledge. And knowledge is never, in the process of accumulation, knowledge, you are never learning. You see the importance. You can gather a lot of information, which becomes knowledge. And in that process, you are not learning at all. You are merely gathering, adding to what you have already known. Learning, surely, is not an additive process at all. Learning is never accumulating. Therefore, learning is constantly changing, moving, living.
The third extract is from the second discussion in Saanen 1971 and is titled, Can the Brain Remain with Not Knowing?
He's saying, just listen to what he's saying. When the old brain is quiet, perhaps a new part of the brain which has not been used comes into operation. Just listen to it. Right? That is, we're only functioning with a very small part of our brain. And when that small part of the brain is quiet, the rest of the brain may be active. Or it has been active all the time, but we don't know that it is active because the one part which has accumulated knowledge, tradition, time, that is always active, super active, and therefore we don't know the other part at all, which may also have its own activity, right? Are you following this? So, this is really a very interesting question. Please give your mind to this little bit. Don't go off, say, I don't understand, just drop it. Good, apply. See, having used the old brain so much, we have never considered any other thing, any other part of that brain. And what is that part which is always, which may have a quality of a different dimension? And I say that quality of a different dimension can be discovered when old brain is really quiet. That's all my problem. You follow? When the old brain is completely quiet, not made quiet, but naturally it has understood that it must be quiet and therefore it's quiet. When it has understood that, then we can find out what takes place when that old brain is absolutely quiet. Right, sir? Now, I'm going to investigate, not you, right? Because your old brain is not quiet. Right? Would you agree to that? You don't know, I mean, it has not understood the necessity of being completely quiet under any stimuli, except, of course, physical stimuli. That is, if you put a pin into my leg, it will respond naturally. But as there is nobody is putting a pin into my leg, the old brain can be quiet, right? Now, I want to find out what is the quality of the new brain, right? The quality which the old brain cannot recognize, right? If it is able to recognize the new, then it is part of the old, right? Because if the old brain cannot recognize anything which it has not experienced, which is not the outcome of memory, right? Therefore, when the old brain recognizes, then it's still the old, right? Is that clear? So, I'm asking, what is the new? The old brain doesn't know anything about it. Therefore, it can only say, I really don't know. Right? Let's proceed from there. Some of you follow this. The old brain says, I really can't touch this and I really don't know. I'm not going to, because I cannot touch it, because I cannot recognize it, I'm not going to be deceived by it. Right? I know nothing about it. Right? I absolutely know nothing about the new dimension of the new brain. Right? So, when it says, when the old brain is quiet and is incapable of recognition, and therefore it can only say, I really don't know. Right? Can the old brain remain in that state of not knowing? Right, sir? Because it has said, all my life I have functioned with knowledge and recognition. All my life, in functioning that way, I have said I know in terms of what I do not know, which I will learn. But always within the pattern of knowing. Now it says, I really don't know, because something new is taking place, I really don't know. The new cannot be recognized. Therefore, I have no relationship to it yet. I'm going to find out. Is this so far? Or can we go on a little bit? Now, what is the mind? What is the brain that says, I do not know? The nature of not knowing. You follow, sir? The nature of not knowing. What is that? When there is not a state of not knowing, is there fear in it? Which is death. You follow, sir? When the old brain actually says, I don't know, it has relinquished all knowing. Right? No, all know. Don't say, madam, yeah, this is the most. It has relinquished altogether the intention of knowing, of wanting to know. So, there is a field in which the old brain cannot function. Because it doesn't know. Right? Now, what is that field? Right? Can that field ever be described? It can be described only when the old brain recognizes it and verbalizes it to communicate. Right, sir? So, there is a field in which the old brain cannot possibly enter. And this is not an invention. This is not a theory. This is a fact where the old brain says, I really don't know a thing about all this. Which means there is no intention to learn about the new thing. You see the difference, sir? So, now I want to find out, non-verbally, because the moment I use a word, I am back in the old. Therefore, is there an understanding of something new non-verbally? You follow? Non-verbally in the sense of not inventing a new word or the intention to describe it so as to capture it and hold it. So I'm just inquiring, the mind is looking at it, looking at something which it does not know at all. Right? Is that possible? You understand my... I've always looked at something in terms of learning about it, resisting it, avoiding it, escaping from it, or overcoming it. Now, it is doing nothing of that kind. Is that possible? You understand? If it is not possible, you cannot possibly understand the other.
The fourth extract is from Krishnamurti's fourth talk in Saanen 1974 and is titled, "In Not Knowing There is Great Energy."
So, you understand? Can the mind be free from the known and yet see how important the known is? If it sees this, then in the field of the known, the activity of the me does not enter. You see the difference? Have I conveyed it to you? If I see the importance of knowledge and its value, its significance, its necessity, then the me, which has created such great mischief in the world, that me has no place in knowledge. It can't identify itself with knowledge, because knowledge is pure function. But when function becomes status, then it is the operation of the me. You understand? I want to forget it all. Have you got it? Got it? Good. So, in the field of knowledge, objective efficiency, without the ruthlessness of the me entering into it, takes place. Because it's pure function. Therefore, the me has no place at all. See the beauty of it, sir. Therefore, the mind then begins to inquire, look, whether there is any area where it is totally free of the human endeavor. You understand? Human gathering, human struggle, human pain, sorrow. Unless the mind finds that there is no way out. You can invent a way out, but it's still the known, the materialistic. Now, how does one discover this? Obviously, no system. System is still part of the known. Please see all this. Therefore, what is the instrument of inquiry? What is the instrument of observation? You're following? Do you know it? You probably have read a great deal, gone to many libraries, made research or looked into books and the literature of religious literature and the intellectual literature and the existentialism, the other this and that. You must have done all this. And have you found the answer? Or is the first time that you are facing this problem? First time in your life you are faced with this. And you have to find it out. Not through somebody else. Because if you find it through somebody else, it is not true. It's like living in a shadow of another. So when you are confronted with this problem for the first time, as you are, you have no answer. Right? Really, you have no answer. That's a great thing. You understand? It's a marvelous thing to say, I have no answer. I don't know what to do. Knowing that nobody is going to give you a hand to help you out. Knowing that you can't possibly look to another. You understand? You really don't know. Right? That is essential. That is real innocence. Right? Please listen to this carefully. That's deep, inexhaustible innocence. Say, I really don't know. Not that you're waiting for an answer. Not that you're expecting something. Because then we play that game again. To remain totally in that state of not knowing. Then, out of that not knowing, you've got tremendous energy, haven't you? I don't know if you... Then you're curious, you're not eager for satisfaction. You're not wanting to achieve something. Then in that state of not knowing totally, that not knowing is part of the brain which has not been contaminated. You understand? Are we meeting each other a little bit? Look, sir, I can say I don't know, but I'll find out. I can find out by searching in my memory, or by looking to somebody, or reading in a book. Right? When I say I don't know, that's one of our tricks. I'm expecting an answer from you, from myself, or from somebody else, in a book, or some other so-called idiotic wise man. We have done that. Or I can say I don't know, but do tell me. Still the same thing. Or I can say I really don't know at all. When when the mind says that, realizes that, is it not part of that brain, is not that area which has not been touched? You understand? It's very simple if you look at it, if you go into it. It is the part of that brain that actually says, you haven't touched me at all. All these things which man has put together through centuries, I know very well. But when I say I don't know, I've entered, the mind has uncovered a field which has not been touched. You understand? Now, can the mind remain there and function in knowledge? You follow? I wonder if you get this. May I continue? See, we have searched for God, for happiness, for a better way of life. We have invented political philosophies, extreme left, historical materialism, capitalism, socialism. We have invented various gods, saviors, Christ, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, dozens of them. And man has not been able to solve his problem of sorrow. Because unless he solves that, you cannot possibly come upon that area which has not been touched by thought. And can the mind see its activity, because the observer is the observed, just to observe the activity, not try to change it, not to reform it, not to control it, just to observe it and see what it discovers in the field of the known and be totally responsible for that. That means not to let the knowledge be used by thought as the mean. I wonder if you... Of course. Therefore, I'm only function, no status. Where there is status, there is the me operating. Right? Now, can we do this? Can you do it? Not theory, but do it. In daily life. You know, that means great attention. Not the attention of will, just to watch it. As you watch a squirrel playing on the trees, as a child running about, just watch it. Care and affection. Then you will see that the me doesn't enter at all in the field of the known, the operation in the function. Then you have whole area of the mind, the brain, which is totally unoccupied. You know, when there is no occupation, it is free, it is alive, it is moving.
The final extract in this episode is from the 7th talk in Madras 1961 and is titled, "We Are Afraid of Leaving the Known."
So to die, psychologically, inwardly, to everything, every minute of the day, then you will see that you can enter the house of death without fear. Then you know while living what death is. Not when the last minute, when you are almost unconscious, diseased, broken, unwilling, but to live now and therefore die now in full vigor, clarity. Which means really tearing down everything that one has built up in oneself. You understand? To have no tradition, no experience, no capacity. And that's what you're going to have when you die. You have no capacity. You're left completely empty. Though you may invent, though your thought may carry on, and thought is just words that have no meaning, a conclusion that may continue because you have set certain action, certain vibration, certain force into being. But even to that you have to die. You have to die to your ideas, to your gurus, to your masters, to everything. You are afraid not of death, but of the known, of leaving the known, leaving your family, your son, with your experiences, your bank account, the country which you are used to, the things that you have gathered as knowledge, and leaving those behind. That's what frightens you, not the unknown, because how can you be frightened of the unknown? You don't know anything about it to be frightened. So, but one has to die to the unknown, to the known. And that's quite an enormous task. And you can only do that when you are facing fact and not introducing opinions, judgments, evaluations, tradition, what you would like and what you won't like, but putting all that aside, tearing all this and facing the fact of what you are. You know that means destroying. Nobody wants to destroy. The revolutionaries, the economic revolutionaries, the social revolution wants to destroy buildings or the structure as a reaction. And the revolutionary produces another set of reactions modified in the same old pattern. But we are talking of death, not revolution. A complete ending to everything that one has known. And then only being free from the known, then you can enter into the unknown. You don't have to enter then. It comes to your mind then, being free of the known, will understand the unknowable. But you can't come to it, because you don't know what the unknowable is. You only know what your Gita tells you, or your Bible, or your Guru, or the 1,000-year propagandas have told you. But that doesn't mean you know the unknown. So you have to die to all that. And don't say it is not for me. This only few can do. Don't say that. That means you don't know what love is. You want love. You want sympathy. You want to understand this extraordinary thing called life and death. And to understand it, to understand life, which is death, and death, which is life, you have to tear down every psychological structure that you have built around yourself, around your family, around your security, around your hopes, desires and purposes. When the mind is completely empty of the things put together by the mind, by the brain, when there is freedom from that, then there is the unknowable, which is death, which is love, which is creation. They're not separate things. Death isn't separate from life. Life is death. Because there is life only when you're dying, not when you continue the same old pattern of stupid existence. There is creation only when you destroy, totally. Right from the beginning to the end, destroy. Your masters, your societies, your commitments, all the attachments of to your family, to your ideas, completely wipe it away. And stand alone. You have to. That is death. And therefore it's also life. And where life is, there is creation, which is destruction, which is love.